Hello guys, welcome to my new Minecraft project. I'm building this massive, multi-tiered medieval city named Havenshald. It's going to be a very long project, there's a lot to do here, but I decided to start off with this little gatehouse area in this little valley between the two open areas. This is going to separate off the city from the castle. I'll build the castle at a later date. I kind of wanted to focus on the city first, but I needed a good starting point for the city to kind of like explode out from. You can see I'm kind of trying to figure out how tall I want the towers of the gatehouse to be. I am going to end up doing like a double gate kind of a thing here, with a little bit of buildings in between the two. Kind of working on stone, brick, with kind of a palette with some black stone for accents. At this point you can see that I've definitely kind of gotten the height that I'm looking for here. Just building a top on this tower, and then once I get the tower kind of perfectly the way I want it, I'm going to resituate it and then copying and pasting it. You'll notice I'm building this at an angle, at a 45-degree angle. That's really just because of the way that this little pass-through was situated between the mountains. I started off by kind of figuring out the height of the pathway, and the windows kind of show off where that path opening is going to be, because I want the pathway to be at the same height as these little balcony window things. I guess they're balconies, not windows. Trying to figure out the arch of the walkway because I didn't want it to be perfectly flat either. And I take a little bit of time to try to figure out a good shape for the arch. It's obviously always harder to build this kind of stuff on a 45, so I want it to still look like a normal arch. And here you can see this is the final look of the actual gate itself. This will end up getting copied over to the other side of this little overpass to make a double gate design with a few government buildings in between. For the walls, I'm kind of keeping the same general theme, the stone brick palette with some stone and cobble and all that stuff. But with I think I said blackstone before, but it's pretty sure it's actually deep slate, not blackstone. Some deep slate. The walls currently just end into the mountains. I will probably work on having some sort of system inside the mountains, some pathways or walkways or something, so they're not just like, bam, goes into the wall and just dies. Use a little bit of world edit to help just make the walls a little bit faster. And then finally, before calling the walls done, I just do a little design to kind of break up the big open space. Copy around to both sides. And at this point, I'm starting to kind of plot out the pathway. I didn't want it to be just a straight shot. I wanted to have a kind of big sweeping curve to connect to the second gatehouse that I'll be plopping in right about now. Here I am just kind of texturing the path a little bit. I feel like I went a little aggressive with these dirt squares. I think I might clean it up a little bit later. You'll probably see that happen. And then I start copying over building over the walls on each side. Same process as before, using world edit just to kind of quickly create a bunch of vertical lines. At this point, I'm starting to kind of plan out a little bit of what's going to go in. I start with some staples. Just some kind of simple, basic wooden stable structures. Nothing too complicated here. You can see me doing a little bit more detailing on the pathway at this point, adding some crevices, little indentations. And then I start working on the stable house. So this is where the person who runs the stables would live. see, I kind of tried to do a wall inside a wall kind of vibe. So there's the support pillars stick out one more than the wall does, just to add a little bit of depth, and I can create that cool archway kind of vibe. I was gonna have it be longer, but then I realized it was going to make it hard to get up behind it because I wanted to use some of the space behind the stables and stable house as well. Now I'm just doing some minor decorations, adding lanterns, flowers, doing a little bit of grass, patches around the outsides of the house. And then I'm starting to work on where I'm marking out where the stairway up to the area behind is going to be. And back behind this is actually going to be a small barracks. It really is just housing the guards that kind of help guard this area. It's not going to be like the entire military kind of a thing, but it is a fairly decent sized building nonetheless. Decided to continue detailing around here before building up to the next level. Just adding some grass and bushes, random clutter, and then I start working on the stairs up. And then comes some terraforming that I got to do. Got to get rid of some layers of snow. I'm building the wall shape, and then I'll do some terraforming behind the wall to kind of smooth it out and make it look a little bit less ridiculous. This little topper I'm doing right now doesn't last forever, the topper on the walls. I come up with a different wall design later on, and I'll come back and fix this in a future video. It'll just be fixed. But for now, the pattern consists of that, I can't remember what the block is called. It's like the fancy stone block. It's decorative stone blocks, something like that, with wall bits in between. But I do change it a little bit later. I find this ended up not working out the way I wanted to later on down the line. At this point you can see I'm starting to kind of plot out where all of the open spaces are going to be, and I don't know if I started texturing. No, I don't start texturing yet. I actually start planning out the layout of the barracks itself. You see, again, it's a pretty big building, even though I would say it's small for a barracks. Sometimes I plan out the builds very strongly ahead of time. This one you can see I'm kind of figuring stuff out as I go. My workflow just depends on what I'm doing at the moment. So I don't have like a consistent strategy necessarily when I'm planning out a build. I knew the general shape, but I had to do a little bit of world edit to kind of move stuff after I already set some stuff in place. building a little storage overhang over here on the back, and then putting some covers over the two porches. After which is just kind of time to start detailing up the building itself. I'm now building a little training archery area just to keep the soldiers, up to date with their archery skills. Do a little of practicing because they're going to spend a lot of the time up on the walls. I imagine bows are going to be very important for soldiers up on the walls, guarding the towers, guarding the gates. And then back behind, you'll see I start doing a little bit of terraforming and planting back up on the walls. I decided to build a custom tree. And of course, we'll decorate the rest of this area with some other, bushes and grass and stuff like that. On the other side of the street, I start deciding kind of how I'm going to lay out the other government buildings. It's going to be stuff like import excise, taxes, land ownership, property ownership kind of a thing. I haven't fully figured out what each one is yet. I kind of tend to wait until a little bit later to figure that stuff out. I don't do interiors right away. I kind of like to do interiors in bulk and focus solely on doing the builds first, the exterior builds. This building here is definitely the biggest one. It's going to be the most important one. I'm not sure exactly what that will entail, but I, kind of thinking maybe import excise. Maybe it will work on, census data, keeping track of people. Again, that'll get fully sorted out later. You can see I didn't like the placement of this building, so I'm doing some world editing, trying to move everything over without having to rebuild it. You can see here I start toying around with some ideas for this middle building. I ended up not going with it. I can't get something that I feel like fits the area properly. So I ended up starting from scratch, though I really liked the concept I was initially going for. It just took up too much space over this walkway. I ended up settling on this little curved building instead, which I think actually filled in the space much better than what I was going for initially. Ends up also being a shorter building than it was going to originally be, but that's okay. Height variety is always good. I do tend to diversify my roof types, but again, because these are all like government buildings, I kind of felt like they would use similar building materials for all of these, since, they're just kind of literally service buildings in a sense. They wouldn't spend a ton of money making the insane, different buildings, different materials, that kind of a thing. So they all have similar roofs in this area. Once I expand out of this area, you'll see a lot more variety in roof types. Alright, and as I transition over here to the overview and cinematics, thanks for taking the time to check it out. Please like, subscribe, consider sharing this. This is going to be a big series. I'm going to be working on this for quite some time, interspersed with some of the other projects I'm working on. It's been nice to get back to vanilla. I've done Conquest almost exclusively for the last year, so I kind of wanted to get back to something a little bit simpler, go back to the basics, if you will.